Well, we got more examples of the Club World Cup being stupid. This is. I don't know if this is the best one, but it's definitely going to be the most chaotic. And the way that it ends up lining up, it just kind of highlights the pointlessness of it all. Like where this all comes landing just highlights how much there isn't a point to doing that. Or how there is one point, but it's a point that has nothing to do with the clubs. Anyways, the Club World Cup news has come down the pipe, and it means that one of the teams in the Club World Cup has officially been kicked out of the Club World Cup. And what it's going to produce is actually one of the most wealthy single matches that can be played anywhere on the planet, right? Because there's a ton of prize money and a ton of TV money and whatever else being thrown around in the world of football. But very rarely do you have a one-off match, 90 minutes plus extra time, that is going to have the potential value of this match that we're talking about in this video. Now, I know it might look a little disorienting to see me in such a well-groomed state. I did just shower, but have no fear. I didn't shower because I ran. I, in fact, showered because I play in a kickball league in New York on Wednesdays, and we played a wonderful game of kickball. My team won 5-4, and then lost the Flip Cup component afterwards, producing 2 out of a possible 3 points in the league table, after which I've showered and now sat down to talk about the Club World Cup, which, you know, is exactly how I imagine my evening going. Why am I here? I say all of this. And of course, as somebody pointed out one time, I talked about the Club World Cup. Well, why is he shitting on it? He's still going to watch it. Of course, I'm still going to watch it. Absolutely. Everybody has a hypocritical bone, and mine is football related. Okay. The team that got kicked out, it's actually for a pretty good reason. You won't, you know, I'll be hard on FIFA when I need to be hard on FIFA, but I am complimenting them here. So put on your seatbelt. FIFA has a very good rule that if you are competing in a FIFA tournament, again, this is FIFA, not UEFA, right? Different organizations. So when you're thinking about the Champions League and how this is allowed in the Champions League, FIFA does not allow it. And what I'm talking about is multi-club ownership, right? It's the idea that one entity at the top, like if you follow the chain up enough, there's one entity or one person that owns multiple clubs. They are not allowed to compete in the same tournament. Not possible. Not allowed. Not going to happen. That's the rule. Good rule. The problem is they didn't seem to be aware of the potential ramifications of that. I don't think they were particularly worried about it. And they actually didn't do anything about it at all until it was brought up by a different club, a club from Costa Rica, which I think is hilarious. I think they were trying to weasel their way into the Club World Cup. But this Costa Rican club, Alajuelense, I believe it was, but I'm not sure, so don't slander them. They brought this to the attention of FIFA that 2 of the Mexican teams that had qualified for the Club World Cup were from the same owner. If you've watched every Zealandism in the history of ever, you already know the story up to this point, but I'll put a bow on it for you. Basically, it ended up in the courts, and that finally made its way to the Court of Arbitration in Sport in Switzerland. And this CAS, determined on May 6th or 5th or 6th, one of those, that it would no longer be possible for both Club Lyon and Pachuca to participate in the Club World Cup. And for reasons unknown to mankind and mostly to me, it's Club Lyon that ends up holding the short end of the stick. And this news comes a month and a half before the tournament starts. Just to put you, like, this has to be incompetence, right? Club Lyon won the CONCACAF Champions Cup in 2023. The CONCACAF Champions Cup plays out in the first half of the year, which means it was early 2023. It was like 2 years ago that they won this tournament. And the Club World Cup was being talked about. It had already existed, and they believed that winning that tournament was going to put them in the Club World Cup. Boom. Bingo, bango, bongo. Welcome to the show, kid. They win the tournament. They're in. They spend nearly 2 years believing they're in. A couple months ago, they end up in courts, and now the specter, the possibility of them not being in the tournament is real. And now all of a sudden they're not. Booked flights, booked hotels, not just for the team, for fans. This is Mexico we're talking about. This is one of the big teams in Mexico, the biggest team in CONCACAF for a particular year. There are a lot of people that follow this team, a lot of people that want to go watch their matches. They've been drawn into the damn group stage. You can still see it now on Google. There they are with Chelsea, ES Tunis, and Flamenco. They're there. They're still there, even though this judgment was made 2 days ago, that they're not supposed to be in this tournament. And again, no idea why Pachuca, who won the tournament the next year, so shout out to the ownership group for producing 2 different Champions Cup winners in 2 years. Pachuca won it in 2024. There was never a question of them. It was always Club Leon that was going to be left out in the cold. I mean, there's probably players that signed with Club Leon under the impression they're signing that contract so they can go play in the CONCACAF, in the Club World Cup. Because it's a big deal. You get to go on the field, play against Chelsea. You're playing, 32 best clubs in the world, right? Even if it is a trumped up event, even if it is, $1 billion to try and get people to be interested in it, it's still cool. I do the podcast with Julian Gressel, obviously, and before he got traded or sent away from Inter Miami up to Minnesota, which he's happy with, by the way. If you listen to the podcast, you know that. He's going to get his playing time again. It's tough when you play in the same position as Lionel Messi. It's really hard to get on the field, right? But Inter Miami's in this tournament. They're in the Club World Cup, and he was excited. He's like, "Oh shoot, maybe I'll get to go on the field against against Bayern Munich, my favorite team in my childhood." Right? That would have been super sick. So even if it is something you're not quite sure if you're supposed to pay attention to, it would have been fun. And now that the decision has actually come down, you can look at it in totality and say, "Wow, Club Leon got screwed." Because they met all of the requirements other than one requirement that honestly they should have been made aware of from the very beginning. But now what FIFA's decided to do is to basically split their losses. And they've created this incredibly expensive game that is going to be occurring, weirdly enough, on the same day as the Champions League final, May 31st. Which is ironic, of course, because the entire event was created to compete with the Champions League, which is owned by UEFA. FIFA already has the biggest international tournament, obviously, so they're looking to create the biggest club tournament. So it's just nice to know that pissing contest is now carried over into the matches being scheduled on the same day. Now, let's not get it twisted. These matches are not going to be occurring at the same time, right? They are only happening on the same day, right? The match, though, is between 2 teams. That's usually how matches work. LAFC, who were the runner-up in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. When it was played over 2 legs, they lost 3-1 on aggregate. They will be taking on Club America, who lost the CONCACAF Cup Champions final. CONCACAF Champions Cup final, whatever, you get it, in 2021. But what they did have is, everybody has these coefficient rankings. They had the highest coefficient over the 4 eligible years, 2021 to 2024, in CONCACAF. So you have the highest coefficient team that didn't get in against the team that got robbed by Club Leon. Except there was no performance enhancing anything or cheating on the field. It was just the fact that Club Leon happened to be owned by the same owners. If they'd owned Seattle Sounders instead, it would be UNAM. They would be going instead. Nacional, whatever they want to be called. I don't know. I don't follow the Mexican League overly passionately, but I reckon, Pumas, right? Yeah. That's Pumas. There you go. Okay. I just didn't know they used that abbreviation. But they could have been in this instead if Seattle Sounders were owned by the same people as Pachuca. Or if Pachuca decided to be out, maybe it'd be Columbus Crew. But they got to be feeling a little screwed. Pachuca's owned by the same group. They more recently lost a final to one of these 2 teams. Why not them? ¿Por qué? ¿Dónde está la moneda? Or something. Because this match, as is reported by ESPN, will involve a payout of close to, they're not saying exactly, but, I didn't hit enter enough times. Whoop, right there. Almost $10 million just for winning this match. One match, and I'm not talking about, you will earn this in the future. I'm talking check on the table. $10 million if you win this match. 90 minutes plus extra time, LAFC against Club America for a spot that we looked at earlier in the actual Club World Cup standings. You're going to play Chelsea, Flamenco, and Tunis. Because May 31st, a little while from now, right? 2 weeks before this tournament starts. So both of these clubs are going to have full logistical plans. I mean, this is absurd, right? Both of these clubs are going to have full logistical plans for the tournament. I mean, particularly for LAFC, who are 5th in the Western Conference right now in MLS, by the way. Right? They're in the thick of the playoff chase. A lot of season to go. This is right in the middle of their season. They're going to have to take a lot of time off to go play at the Club World Cup, join Seattle Sounders and Inter Miami in this tournament. Now, fortunately for the Mexican team, Club America, they would have a break, but then you flip that around. These players are either going to go on a month-and-a-half vacation or they're going to play in this tournament. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there were one or two guys in there thinking, you know what? If we lose this penalty shootout, wouldn't suck to go to Cabo for a little bit. Maybe take a quick road trip to Cabo. Maybe that's on the back of their mind because it is the Club World Cup after all, but it just gives you an idea of how scrambled, kind of how rushed this whole thing was to be put together in the first place. That we're having a play-in game. I mean, the World Cup play-ins happen like 4 months before the World Cup kicks off, and that's close. This is a play-in game for the Club World Cup, designed to replace a team that should have been told from the get-go that they weren't eligible to be in this tournament. Probably should have told Pachuca that because they were the second team that won it, but whatever. Right? The whole thing's a mess. But FIFA does have the ability to solve a mess with one thing. Throw money at it. And that's what they've done with this match. They're going to give them almost $10 million for winning it. And then apparently some European clubs are getting way more than that just to show up because they didn't want to deal with a situation where the teams didn't show up. The prize pool for the tournament is $1 billion. Bro. Fuck the initiatives to build fields all over the world, which they do a lot of because if you know anything about the way FIFA works, every country has the same voting power, which means all the FIFA president has to do is build a bunch of fields in small countries, and then all the small countries will vote for him, and they'll be able to outvote Europe or Brazil or, people that probably should have a little bit bigger of a say. Like, I'm all for democracy, but the fact that, Solomon Islands has the same voting power as Brazil is going to create a flawed system. And it's not either nation's fault, right? But FIFA is building a lot of fields for those people. But $1 billion, it's a lot of fucking money. They really want this to work. And if you win this match, you obviously have a chance to take some of that change. I mean, you got ES Tunis in your group, which I believe a CONCACAF team would be favored against Tunis. I don't know. We've never done this before. I don't know if we've ever had a North African team, a great North African team, play a great CONCACAF team and see what the hell happens. I don't know. But if you can go out there and win a match or get to the next round or whatever, then this match could be worth a hell of a lot more than 10 million. 30, 40 million, which for a CONCACAF team is money, right? I mean, even for a European team, that's money, right? But for a CONCACAF team, that is, holy shit, let's build a whole new training facility and hire 5 more coaches and build a youth academy or another one, right? That's transcendent money for them. And that's what they're playing for. So if the Champions League final doesn't scratch your itch, there will be the play-in game for the Club World Cup to consider. Full day of wonderful football.